Richard Widmark was an intense guy in Hollywood. He was an actor who made bad guys look cool and changed the way we think about heroes in movies like Kiss of Death and No Way Out. Even though he seemed really tough on the outside, he was actually really upset on the inside. Richard Widmark had a list of actors he really did not like. There were 8 actors on this list. They were all really famous and loved by a lot of people. When people finally found out who was on this list, they were really surprised. This is not just rumors or gossip. It is a story about people betraying each other and holding grudges for a long time. The story is about Richard Widmark and the actors he did not like. It is about the rivalry and betrayal between Richard Widmark and these actors. Frank Sinatra was the person on that list. He was the man that Richard Widmark really did not like. Frank Sinatra was someone Richard Widmark just could not stand. Number 1. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was a famous singer and actor. He could walk into a room. Everyone would love him. Not Widmark. Widmark thought Frank Sinatra was fake. He believed that Frank Sinatra only cared about looking good, but was not really trying. This happened in 1968 when they were filming a movie called The Detective. Frank Sinatra was the star of the movie. Widmark was added to the movie because he was an actor who worked very hard. From the first day of filming, Frank Sinatra and Widmark did not get along. Frank Sinatra showed up hours late on the set. He still had the smell of the party from the night before on him. It seemed like he thought everyone would just deal with it and work around him. Richard Widmark talked to a friend about this later. He said Frank Sinatra thinks that just showing up is enough, but it is not. One time Frank Sinatra made a joke about rushing through a scene so he could get to the bar. Richard Widmark did not think it was funny. He just said, "Some of us are here to do our job." After that, Frank Sinatra and Richard Widmark did not talk to each other unless the camera was rolling. When the movie was finished, Richard Widmark said he would never work with Frank Sinatra again. The person said something in an interview. He said that charisma is really good at filling a room with people. Charisma cannot make a movie successful on its own. Charisma can get a lot of attention. That does not mean the film will be good. The person thinks that charisma has its limits when it comes to saving a film. Charisma is not enough to make a movie work. Number 2. Robert Mitchum. The movie was The Way West. It was made in 1967. The real problem was not the story. The problem was between Robert Mitchum and Widmark. Widmark thought the set was a special place. He treated it with a lot of respect. Robert Mitchum was different. He walked around like he was on vacation. Every time they tried to film a scene, it became a test. Robert Mitchum and Widmark had to be patient and proud. One day, they were filming in the Oregon wilderness. Robert Mitchum kept making mistakes. He would miss his cues. He just shrugged and smiled. The director said they had to do it. Robert Mitchum said, "Why bother? That is what they said, they will fix it in the cut." This made Widmark very angry. He took his hat off, threw it on the ground, and said, "You think acting is a joke?" Some of us still care about the acting work. Before he went to his trailer, the people who were working on the movie were quiet. Mitchum did not go after Widmark. That night, Widmark told a sound technician, "The man has a problem. He is too serious. It is like he has a stick up his back that is keeping him standing up." For the rest of the movie shoot, Richard Widmark would not eat with Robert Mitchum during meal breaks. When the movie came out, you could feel the tension between them on screen, and Richard Widmark and Robert Mitchum never talked to each other again. Richard Widmark said later that Robert Mitchum did not really act, he just walked around on set. Robert Mitchum said Richard Widmark just worked too hard on his acting. Number 3. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas and this other guy Widmark were on the set of The Way West. They were both proud and intense men. They were like fighters, not in the movies, but in real life too. This similarity between Kirk Douglas and Widmark soon turned into a fight. Kirk Douglas wanted to be in charge, and Widmark wanted people to respect him. One of the big arguments happened when they were filming a scene around a campfire. Kirk Douglas kept making up his lines and changing what he was supposed to say so he could be the center of attention. Widmark got really mad. He slammed his cup down on the table. Said, "You've got the whole frame, Kirk Douglas." Douglas asked, "How more do you want?" Then he said, "I want enough to make it good." The people on the set just stood there not moving. The director stopped the scene before things got worse. When they were not filming, Douglas' loud voice could be heard over the set. He was telling people what to wear and where to stand. Widmark did not like this. He thought Douglas was being too full of himself. After they finished the movie, Widmark said he would not work with Douglas again. He said, "There is room for one big personality in a scene, and Douglas is like a big storm, he brings too much." Douglas said to Variety, "Dick never got what it means to have fun." The respect Douglas and Dick had for each other was completely. It was not coming back. Number 4, Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis was the star of the movie The Long Ships that came out in 1964. He had a lot of problems with his co-star. Tony Curtis and this other guy did not get along all. The guy, he just did his job and tried to be realistic. Tony Curtis was really full of himself. He showed up on set with a bunch of people helping him and mirrors everywhere. He even wore a lot of cologne. It was like he thought the set was his personal show. When they were trying on costumes, Tony Curtis started complaining about the clothes. He did not like the fabric they used. The other guy got really upset with him. He told Tony Curtis that the costume was supposed to be armor, not some suit. Things got really bad between them when they were filming a scene on a ship during a storm. It was raining hard and the wind was blowing loudly, so Curtis stopped what he was doing and started complaining about his hair. Widmark got really upset and yelled at Curtis, saying, "This is what makes the movie real, Tony." Curtis got angry, walked away saying some mean things, while Widmark thought to himself that Curtis did not know what was important. Curtis and Widmark never got along after that. When they finished making the movie, they still did not like each other. Curtis thought Widmark was the boring man he had ever met, while Widmark thought Curtis was a movie star who did not try hard enough. The movie was important to Curtis. The movie was important to Widmark, but they just could not agree on things. Curtis and Widmark had different ideas about what made a good movie, and that is why they did not get along. Number 5. Marlon Brando, the genius who drove Richard Widmark crazy. People in Hollywood talked about Marlon Brando's brilliance all the time. Richard Widmark only saw problems. He did not like Marlon Brando's attitude, the fact that he was always late, or the way he would try out acting methods that caused confusion on set. When someone brought up Marlon Brando's name at a party, Richard Widmark would shake his head. Say, "You are wasting your talent if you do not respect it." The cold feelings between Marlon Brando and Richard Widmark started in the 1950s, and it was made worse by people in the media always comparing them to each other. Brando had a lot of power in a streetcar named Desire. That made him a big star in Hollywood. People thought he was the start of something. Widmark, on the hand, was a lot more careful with his acting. He did things the way, with a lot of practice and hard work. The media liked to say that Brando and Widmark were opposites. They would say Brando was a rebel and Widmark was a professional. Widmark did not like this all. He thought Brando was being lazy and disrespectful when he would just make things up as he went along and cause delays all the time. Things got really bad when a producer wanted Brando and Widmark to be in a movie together about the Korean War around 1958. Brando and Widmark being in a movie together was a deal. The Korean War film was going to be a challenge for both Brando and Widmark. When the meeting was over, Widmark closed his script, got up, and said in a way, "I want an actor who knows what to say." Then he walked out without even shaking hands with anyone. Widmark would often say that the way Marlon Brando acted had an effect on a lot of actors. Those were words, but that is just the way Widmark is. He is a man who speaks his mind, and Widmark does not care what people think of him. That is just Widmark. Number 6. William Holden, the rival that Richard Widmark never forgave. When William Holden started winning awards in the 1950s, something changed in Richard Widmark. William Holden and Richard Widmark were both leading men of the era, but Hollywood seemed to favor William Holden's easy charm over Richard Widmark's intensity. Richard Widmark once told a friend over drinks, "They want people to smile, not sweat." The real tension began when a studio offered William Holden a war film that was originally promised to Richard Widmark. The role of an officer who fights against bad morals was given to Holden after the movie Stalag 17 did very well. Widmark was really upset about this. He said later that they chose Holden because he looks better on camera even when he is bored. After that, whenever they saw each other at a party or a movie premiere, it was very uncomfortable. In 1954, both of them were going to be in the movie The Bridges at Tokyo for a while. Holden got the part. Widmark did not want to watch the film. He thought it showed that Hollywood liked people who were charming more than people who worked hard. Holden did not really care about the problem between them. He even made a joke about it. He said, "If he hates me, I must have done something." A lot of people heard this line. It hurt Widmark very much. Number 7. Spencer Tracy, the legend that Richard Widmark did not want to look up to. Richard Widmark liked Spencer Tracy's movies, but after a while he got really upset because Hollywood was treating Spencer Tracy like a king while younger actors were doing all the tough work. Spencer Tracy could just show up, say a lines, and everyone would think he was amazing. When they were filming Judgment at Nuremberg in 1961, you could feel the tension. Spencer Tracy was already not feeling well. He would often come to the set late and leave early. Spencer Tracy had a lot of problems with his health. This made things even harder for the people working with him on the movie set. People in charge walked on eggshells around Spencer Tracy because they did not want to upset the industry's elder statesman, Spencer Tracy. Richard Widmark lost his temper during a rehearsal when Spencer Tracy refused to repeat a scene saying, "We are all tired, Spencer Tracy. Some of us still finished the job." The crew stopped what they were doing. Spencer Tracy just stared with that quiet smirk. That silence really got to Richard Widmark. He did not like it when people acted arrogant, tried to seem calm like Spencer Tracy. The guy never said Tracy's name in interviews that took place on. However, he often talked about actors who gave up on finding the truth because they were famous. People who knew what was going on always understood that he was talking about Tracy. Number 8. Henry Fonda, the gentleman who did not get along with Widmark. Henry Fonda was a person. He was polite and he was quietly in charge, but Widmark saw something else beneath the way Henry Fonda acted. Widmark told a journalist, when they were not supposed to be talking about it, that Henry Fonda is very cold. He said he is so cold he could freeze a furnace. Henry Fonda and Widmark did not have a relationship, and it started in 1962 when they worked together on the big movie How the West Was Won. There were a lot of people in the movie. It was Henry Fonda who bothered Widmark. Henry Fonda liked to rehearse by himself. He did not like to do group read-throughs. He just went with what felt right when they were filming. Richard Widmark would sometimes say things to himself between scenes like, "You cannot call it instinct when you are just making it up as you go along." Then he talked to Henry Fonda about it. "Say the words that are written down, Henry." Henry Fonda stayed calm. Said the words on the page do not feel real, and this made Richard Widmark shake his head. Henry Fonda and Richard Widmark did not get along for a long time. Whenever people mentioned Henry Fonda, Richard Widmark would start to sound upset. Fonda, meanwhile, brushed it off, saying, "Dick took the work harder than anyone I've met." That may have been true, and it explained why Widmark could never stand him. 8 names, 8 stories, and a lifetime of grudges that never faded.